Hello, everyone, and welcome to Radical Democracy. I'm your host, Kamali Rose, and we are here today to discuss some breaking news. New York Times, just about within the past hour, released some few decades worth of Donald Trump's tax returns, and so just wanted to check out that article with you, and then also discuss some of the reaction. What does it mean? How is it going to impact the election? Those sorts of things. So a lot to get to, I suppose. So let's get right to it. If you're just joining us now, please do me a favor and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. And please share this stream out on social media, wherever you can, so that we can grow the channel. So let's take a look at this report from the New York Times, and then we will discuss. All right. So this was a piece released today, September 27th, in the New York Times. It says it's titled 18 Revelations from a Trove of Trump Tax Records. They have an initial report that they released. It's titled Long Concealed Records Show Trump's Chronic Losses and Years of Tax Avoidance. You can check that one out as well. I'll add links in the description box below to both of those articles. And I'll throw a link in the chat in case you want to follow along as well. So I'll just drop a link in the chat now to the article that we're going to be reading from here. So it says 18 Revelations from a Trove of Trump Tax Records. Times reporters have obtained decades of tax information the president has hidden from public view. Here are some of the key findings. The New York Times has obtained tax return data for President Trump and his companies that covers more than 2 decades. Mr. Trump has long refused to release this information, making him the first president in decades to hide basic details about his finances. His refusal has made his tax returns among the most sought-after documents in recent memory. Among the key findings of the Times' investigation, Mr. Trump paid no federal income taxes in 11 of 18 years that the Times examined. In 2017, after he became president, his tax bill was only $750. He has reduced his tax bill with questionable measures, including a $72.9 million tax refund that is the subject of an audit by the IRS. Many of his signature businesses, including his golf courses, report losing large amounts of money, losses that have helped him to lower his taxes. The financial pressure on him is increasing as hundreds of millions of dollars in loans he personally guaranteed are soon coming due. Even while declaring losses, he has managed to enjoy a lavish lifestyle by taking tax deductions on what most people would consider personal expenses, including residences, aircraft, and $70,000 in hairstyling for television. Ivanka Trump, while working as an employee of the Trump Organization, appears to have received consulting fees, quote unquote, that helped reduce the family's tax bill. As president, he received more money from foreign sources and U.S. interest groups than previously known. The records, however, do not reveal any previously unreported connections to Russia. So, as far as the Russiagate is concerned in this, they say there are no previous connections to Russia, no previously unreported connections to Russia revealed in this report. It is important to remember that the returns are not an unvarnished look at Mr. Trump's business activity. They are instead his own portrayal of his companies, compiled for the IRS. But they do offer the most detailed picture yet available. So below here, they take a deeper look into some of this. So they talk about, again, how he avoided taxes in 2 of the most recent years. He paid only $750 in both 2016 and 2017. He paid $750 in total in federal taxes. I mean, I pay more taxes than that, and I'm unemployed. So he has managed to avoid taxes while enjoying the lifestyle of a billionaire, which he claims to be, while his companies cover the costs of what many would consider personal expenses. They say this tax avoidance sets him apart from most other affluent Americans. So they say taxes on wealthy Americans have declined sharply over the past few decades, and many use loopholes to reduce their taxes below the statutory rates. but most affluent people still pay a lot of federal income tax. Not nearly enough. I think we all know that. In 2017, the average federal income tax rate for the highest earning 0.001% of tax filers, that is the most affluent 1/100,000th slice of the population, was 24%, according to the IRS. Over the past 2 decades, Mr. Trump has paid about $400 million less in combined federal income taxes than a very wealthy person who paid the average for that group each year. So on average, even when you're talking about the richest of the rich, he still is, what he's paying is way below, even though they already pay way less, and they can already pay less through all of the tax loopholes. He goes one step beyond that here, and is, or many steps beyond it appears, and is paying even less. So his tax avoidance also sets him apart from past presidents. Mr. Trump may be the wealthiest U.S. president in history. We'll see. Well, I'd like to double check that. We can't tell because we don't have real records on him. Let's be real here. It's just what he claims. So Mr. Trump may be the wealthiest U.S. president in history, yet he has often paid less in taxes than other recent presidents. Barack Obama and George W. Bush each regularly paid more than $100,000 a year, and sometimes much more, in federal income taxes while in office. So Obama and George W. Bush paid more than $100,000 a year. Meanwhile, Trump's out here paying $750 a year. Mr. Trump, by contrast, is running a federal government to which he has contributed almost no income tax revenue in many years. So this is another controversial bit of it. It says a large refund has been crucial to his tax avoidance. Mr. Trump did face large tax bills after the initial success of The Apprentice television show, but he erased most of these tax payments through a refund. Combined, Mr. Trump initially paid almost $95 million in federal income taxes over the 18 years. He later managed, so Mr. Trump initially paid almost $95 million in federal income taxes over the 18 years. He later managed to recoup most of that money with interest by applying for and receiving a $72.9 million tax refund starting in 2010. The refund reduced his total federal income tax bill between 2000 and 2017 to an annual average of $1.4 million. By comparison, the average American in the top 0.001% of earners paid about $25 million in federal income taxes each year over the same span. So, 20 times more than what Trump was, seems to have paid here. So that $72.9 million refund has since become the subject of a long-running battle with the IRS. When applying for the refund, he cited a giant financial loss that may be related to the failure of his Atlantic City casinos. Publicly, he also claimed that he had fully surrendered his stake in the casinos, but the real story may be different from the one he told. Federal law holds that investors can claim a total loss on an investment, as Mr. Trump did, only if they receive nothing in return. Mr. Trump did appear to receive something in return, 5% of the new casino company that formed when he renounced his stake. In 2011, the IRS began an audit reviewing the legitimacy of the refund. Almost a decade later, the case remains unresolved for unknown reasons and could ultimately end up in federal court, where it could become a matter of public record. So on his business expense and personal benefits, Mr. Trump classifies much of the spending on his personal lifestyle as the cost of business. His residences are part of the family business, as are the golf courses, where he spends so much time. He has classified the cost of his aircraft used to shuttle him among his homes as a business expense as well. Haircuts, including more than $70,000 to style his hair during The Apprentice, $70,000 to style his hair during The Apprentice, have fallen into the same category. So he's writing these off as expenses here. And so they say haircuts, including more than $70,000 to style his hair during The Apprentice, have fallen into the same category. So did almost $100,000 paid to a favorite hair and makeup artist of Ivanka Trump. All of this helps to reduce Mr. Trump's tax bill further because companies can write off business expenses. Seven Springs, his estate in Westchester County, New York, typifies his aggressive definition of business expenses. So Mr. Trump bought the estate, which stretches over more than 200 acres in Bedford, New York, in 1996. His sons Eric and Donald Jr. spent summers living there when they were younger. This is really our compound, Eric told Forbes in 2014. Moving along in this article, they talk about how across nearly all of his projects, Mr. Trump's company set aside about 20% of income for unexplained consulting fees. His daughter appears to have received some of these consulting fees despite having been a top Trump organization executive. Many of the highest profile Trump businesses also lose large amounts of money. So people have this narrative of Trump being a great businessman, but these tax returns are showing that many of the highest profile Trump businesses are actually losing large amounts of money. So here it says since 2000, he has reported losing more than $315 million at the golf courses that he often describes as the heart of his empire. Much of this has been at Trump National Doral, a resort near Miami that he bought in 2012. And his Washington hotel, opened in 2016, has lost more than $55 million. So an exception, Trump Tower in New York, which reliably earns him more than $20 million in profits a year. I mean, if you can't make money in New York real estate, then you are, you're not any kind of businessman at all. So the most successful part of the Trump business has been his personal brand. And we all know how he loves his personal brand. The Times calculates that, so essentially selling his name essentially is the best part of his business. So the Times calculates that between 2004 and 2018, Mr. Trump made a combined $427 million from selling his image, an image of unapologetic wealth through shrewd business management, quote unquote, shrewd business management. But as we're seeing from what these tax returns are showing, it doesn't seem like the business management is so shrewd. It's just that he has sold an image of shrewd business management here. So the marketing of this image has been a huge success, even if the underlying management of many of the operating Trump companies has not been. So the marketing of his image has been a great success, even though the actual underlying management of many of those companies has not been a success whatsoever, as we can see from these tax returns. Other firms, especially in real estate, have paid for the right to use the Trump name. You can, a different company will build a Trump tower. They'll slap the name Trump on it, and then people they trust the brand. So other firms, especially in real estate, have paid for the right to use the Trump name. The brand made possible, quote unquote, the Apprentice, quote, The Apprentice. And the show then took the image to another level. So the show, The Apprentice, raised the value of that brand even further. Of course, Mr. Trump's brand also made possible his election as the first United States president with no prior government experience. That's where most people know Trump from. So, but they say, but his unprofitable company still served a financial purpose, reducing his tax bill. The Trump Organization, a collection of more than 500 entities, virtually all of them wholly owned by Trump, has used the losses to offset the rich profits from the licensing of the Trump brand and other profitable pieces of its business. So he's using these unprofitable companies to reduce his overall tax bill, which means he's able to use all of these, poorly functioning, inefficient businesses to then bilk the U.S. government, essentially, the taxpayer essentially gets. So we all end up having to pay more of the burden. All the rest of us have to pay more of a burden to make up for what, someone like, Donald Trump is avoiding. The reported losses from the operating businesses were so large that they often fully erase the licensing income, leaving the organization to claim that it earns no money and thus owes no taxes. This pattern is an old one for Mr. Trump. The collapse of major parts of his business in the early 1990s generated huge losses that he used to reduce his taxes for years afterward. So they go on here to say large bills looming. With the cash from The Apprentice, Mr. Trump went on his biggest buying spree since the 1980s. So The Apprentice, which debuted on NBC in 2004, was a huge hit. Mr. Trump received 50% of its profits, and he went on to buy more than 10 golf courses and multiple other properties. The losses at these properties reduced his tax bill. But the strategy ran into trouble as money from The Apprentice began to decline. By 2015, his financial condition was worsening. His 2016 presidential campaign may have been partly an attempt to resuscitate his brand. So now they're saying that his 2016 presidential campaign. So all right, I'm gonna pause going through the story for just a moment to catch our breath here, because this is a lot that we have to unpack here. So to anyone that's just joining us, please do me a favor and immediately hit the like button right now. I can see all of you that are in here. I appreciate you being here with us. Please do us a favor and help independent media to grow. Support us by simply just hitting that like button. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that like button right below you right there. If you're watching this on phone, you just got to close out your live chat. Hit the like button, and then you can open the live chat back up. Please leave your thoughts, questions, comments in the chat here, and I will try to get to as much of your comments as possible on this stream. If you can afford to do so, I have to ask that you please support the show by heading over to our Patreon at patreon.com/radical democracy and simply contributing as low as $1 a month to support independent media. We need your support. We don't have large corporate donors here. We unfortunately are going to have to pay our federal taxes, so we're going to need to. We need income here. We need revenue. So please support us by for as low as $1 a month on patreon.com/radical democracy. You can also support us with just a one-time tip by dropping us in place of a super chat. We don't yet have the super chat feature enabled on YouTube, but in the meantime, you can drop us a one-time tip, no account required, at coffee.com/radical democracy. That's ko-fi.com/radical democracy. I'm going to be joined shortly by host of the Raise Fist Media podcast, Kwame Norville, will be joining me shortly to discuss some of his thoughts on this as well. So let me actually let me bring Kwame in here. I haven't shared my thoughts yet, but I'll get Kwame in here and we can chat about this. So please, everyone, welcome to the show our friend of the show here, Kwame Norville. And what's up, Kwame? How's it going, brother? You're muted there. Fix that.
Hey, how's it going, y'all?
Not too bad. I'm hearing a lot of background noise there. If you could get that for us. Yep. I'll mute you for a sec. Hold up. All right. So while Kwame fixes the background noise there, we will hold on one sec. I'll bring him back in as soon as he's ready to go. So yeah, my initial thoughts on this, what I'll say right off the bat is that I'm not surprised here, right? The initial results to me, not surprising. Donald Trump doesn't pay a lot of taxes. He's a bad businessman. He cheats on his taxes, but there's no Russian conspiracy behind it. That's pretty much what we learned here. And this is what, we spent how many years, how long did we spend on Russiagate? That was at least this year long, right? It sucked up all of the oxygen on the airwaves, right? With Russiagate, it was round the clock. Donald Trump, he must be working with Russians. I wasted some of my time on that stuff. I was there watching Rachel Maddow. I went through this whole political arc where I was out there watching Rachel Maddow. And it made me angry, and it should make you angry too. If you're watching this, if you're a liberal person, wherever you are on the political spectrum, it's they wasted our time, and the more information that comes to light, it's what we all expected, right? Donald Trump is just a terrible businessman. He's a failed businessman. To anyone, all the people on the right, all the Trumpists that are out here, hey, all hail, Donald Trump, he's a smart businessman. And he's going to guide us to success the way that he handled his businesses. It's like the dude went bankrupt 6 times and we already knew that. So what did you think his tax returns were going to look like? He skates by cheating the system essentially. And he does it worse than the regular rich folks who just use the legal loopholes. He could do it like, and this is the thing about him too. The idea that he's like this super rich person, that also just seems highly unlikely to me, because it's what kind of rich person needs to hide from is so worried about paying just a few percent of their what they have in taxes. So all right, let me get Kwame back on here for us and we can discuss here. So
sorry about that, y'all.
No worries. All right, Kwame Norville, everyone from Raise Fist Media. Thank you for joining us, Kwame. So, right out of the gate, what's your initial reaction to this breaking news here?
Man, I could have told you I seen this coming a mile away. From one broke fella to another broke fella. Broke recognized broke. I could tell a grifter when I see one. This is the most unsurprising thing. You want to talk about failing upwards? Like, goodness gracious, that 750 figure. Oh my!
No, right? $750, dude. He pays less in taxes than I do, and I'm unemployed, and somehow this dude's paying less in taxes than I am. How does that work?
My thing is like, and we know they're hypocrites. We know that that logic has long since left. So I need to hear the mental gymnastics that are about to take place as they continue to say that, all at the same time, mind you, that he is a successful, rich, lavish, jet-setting businessman, but also he's a man of the people and a humble man who's not with the elites somehow. He's a jet-setting, Ric Flair wooing and type, while also being not like the other elites, so to speak. And I'm want to see how they're going to reckon this all along with the just one failure that this has brought to light.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's like they said most of his like biggest businesses were losing money. This is what it's like. The dude made Trump steaks and like launched Trump steaks at like Sharper Image. Who releases a steak brand at Sharper Image? The dude is a garbage businessman. He has no business acumen whatsoever. It's all personal brand. That was his all of his money. And the thing is, like, Donald Trump started with the biggest head start like one could ever imagine. His daddy gave him $200 million, and somehow, even with a $200 million head start that most of us will never sniff that much money in our lifetimes. And somehow he still manages to be needing to skirt federal taxes to pay $750 a year in 2 years, when he's the president of the United States, where he's making like $200,000 a year salary. But on top of that, he's supposed to be a billionaire, right? Like, what billionaire can't pay more than $750 in taxes to a government that he's in charge of? It's like you're paying yourself at that point, and you still can't even pay your taxes.
You're still grifting. The thing that pisses me off about these people and their like whole pull yourself up by the bootstrap rhetoric and these self-made people is that we hear this all the time when it's just not true. Like we have people like this saying, like, people like him who had wealth handed to him, like not even just like the generational wealth that you get, but on top of that, like just having like investors and whatnot. You've got people like, they said the same thing about Kylie Jenner, that, self-made first a million billionaire, whatever. And it's like, these people aren't self-made. Their parents just gave them the alley-oop. And their parents threw them the alley-oop while Shaq had them on his shoulders up by the rim, and then they put it in, and they're like, oh my God, youngest person ever dunk. And it's like, what are we What are we even saying now? I saw a meme going around earlier that was talking about two people who they were like the youngest people starting a business, and they were like, yeah, we did this from scratch. And then immediately they were like, yeah, their dad owns some multi-billion-dollar corporation, and he's one of their number one clients. That's not from scratch, homie.
I'm gonna have, we might have to pull up the Koch brothers' son had a business making like these like shirts, these like patterned shirts, and it's we might have to pull up that video because that reminds me of that. It's like these folks who think that they are Wyatt, I think his name is Wyatt Koch.
Of course.
Yeah. And this kid just thinks that, but it's these people that have never had anyone say no to them because they were, I think somebody said, what's the saying? It's like, he was born on third base and thought he hit a home run or something like that. And so Trump was born on back at home plate and thought he hit a home run. So yeah. What Up America says, and what do you know? No Russian conspiracy. Wow, it's almost like the Democrat Russia baiting is complete poppycock. Yeah, exactly. I that's exactly my point. I think that this largely dispels, any more, to that notion that, oh, well, there was going to be. Now, of course, these are his finances that he reports. This is self-reported figures. You're not going to like go, but there should be some, there would be, maybe there would be some links here, some sort of connection, and there's nothing that they found through that.
I don't doubt that there's some foul stuff going on there, especially when you look into the stuff with his hotel. I want to say that's where I've heard kind of some of that little bit shiftier stuff that seems like way more realistic than we were going to find $1 million payments directly from Russia on his tax return. Like I don't know how we at any point, I fell into it too back then. I was a release the taxes person too. I am more than willing to admit that I was. And let me just jump in.
Let me just jump in and say, I do think that all presidents should release their tax return. Like it should release like 10 years or at least, the last 10 years.
I agree. Yeah.
Like, but it was,
there's no smoking gun.
Exactly.
Not like that. Yeah.
Exactly. We didn't need to make it sound like what we were going to find there. I like the people. There were two sets of people there. There was the set of folks that were being realistic and were saying, listen, you're going to find what we all can see with our eyes here, which is he's a failed businessman and he's not rich. And maybe you could have used that, and there would be some value, some political value to being able to say to his supporters, he's not the rich, successful businessman you think he is. And that is totally an okay strategy. And I know that, back then it was a mix. I still bought into the notion. I supported that, but then I bought into the notion at least that, oh, maybe there would be some crazy, conspiratorial, link going on here. And, you'd find some sort of, he's got some, businesses that are tied up with Russian, whatever benefactors or whatever the case is, and this and that. But by and large, it's just instead of having to reach to the conspiratorial level of things, it was much more likely. It was just like an Occam's razor situation of like the simplest solution. The simplest solution is probably the simplest explanation is the likely explanation, and it's just like that was the simple explanation. There, it's just that the dude is a failed businessman, like we can all see with our eyes, and we should. And I wish that I think it would have been nice to have this information come out, back pre 2006, like in 2016 and stuff, and you could have at least made it the argument and that it would. He was a failed businessman, but I think at this point, like people, by and large, like his supporters are so dug in. Like, do you think that this is actually going to impact do you think that this will impact the upcoming election in any way?
All of the people who were on that side, who were willing to give him a chance at the beginning, who were genuinely afraid of Hillary for, I guess, more slightly logical reasons, right? All of the people who were genuinely giving him a chance, not the MAGA crowd, but like the old school Republicans. I like to think that a lot of them would have at least looked at this and been like, whoa, hold on, guys, this dude's a failure. Like he's not a good businessman. If we're going to say we need to put him in charge of the country so he can run it like a business and we can turn a profit, because that's what a lot of people were saying for whatever reason. Bizarrely, whatever reason they were saying that. I'd like to think that this would have been the key, that maybe that wasn't the right move. And I think that some of them would have pulled off, but like the ones who are so dug in, they're too far gone. And I highly doubt this is going to impact anyone that this would have impacted or pushed off of Trump. They already been gone. They left when the Nazis started walking through the streets saying that was their guy.
Yep, absolutely. I feel like that this isn't going to, I don't feel like this will move the needle in any regard for as far as the election's concerned. It's like, this, you're not backing off. Anyone that was supporting Trump isn't backing off of him now because of this news right here. And anyone that was against him was against him already, and this doesn't do anything more to
Exactly.
it can push them further away, but it doesn't matter. It's not going to alter whoever, his supporters are his supporters, and they're not backing him at this stage. You're not backing Trump because he's Trump the businessman anymore at this point. We know the reasons that somebody's supporting him at this stage is just not that. So
it is. I saw someone say basically that a lot of what this comes down to, and the reason that calling out the hypocrisy and the inconsistencies and the logical leaps that these people take doesn't help at all, is because they don't actually genuinely care. They just like the dude to own the libs. That's all it really is. It's because he pisses people off. He triggers people, and that's all they really care about. They play it like they don't. It doesn't make a difference to them one way or another. These people play it like a team sport. It's not going to be
very tribalistic. Exactly.
Yes,
so people have already picked their tribe that they're with at this point, and I don't think that this is the thing that's going to that this is going to alter anyone's perspective on him. Unfortunately, you were for or against Trump before, and this hasn't shifted you off. I think that politically, if maybe with enough time, and but at this stage, I think that if it happened in 2016 and this was released in 2016, I think that this could have had some impact then, because there were people that were still susceptible, were amenable to the pitch of, well, he's a failed businessman and he's a struggling businessman. He's not the successful businessman that you see him as, and so he's not this like strong, a successful businessman that he's portraying himself as.
Yeah.
And that would have been an effective political strategy back in 2016, I think, in the run up to that election. In 2020, I just think that people have everything is so polarized already. People have picked their sides at this stage, and it's going to take something, it's going to take more than this to shift people off of Donald Trump at this stage. I think that it's more so. I don't think that you're going to win by and that's the other point, is that I don't think that you're going to win by shifting people off of Donald Trump at this stage. You win by picking up more voters out of the non-voting block. You got to go to the people that are just completely disconnected from politics at this stage, and you have to go to them with a message and a vision of, hey, this is what I can provide for you, this is what I can do for you, and this is why you should come out for me in a way that you didn't come out for to vote for Hillary Clinton or even a Barack Obama. And so I think the way that you do that is you got to meet people where they are, meet people on the policies that they believe in. And unfortunately, I just do not see Joe Biden about to suddenly, we're in the midst of a pandemic and he still hasn't supported Medicare for all. If tens of millions of Americans were just thrown off of their health insurance in the middle of a pandemic. If that doesn't change your mind to say, I don't think that we should be relying on employer-based health insurance anymore, then nothing will. We just saw the greatest depression, the greatest, mass unemployment event in the history of the United States. And that wasn't enough for Joe Biden to say, all right, you know what, maybe employer-based health insurance is a bad idea, or just not such a good idea. Maybe we should support even a temporary Medicare for all. But he won't even say that before an election, when he actually needs your vote. Once he gets someone's votes, if he gets people's votes in this election and Joe Biden does win, then he's already gotten what he needs from us, and he's not going to then change his mind after the election. And so real quick, before we push any further, to everyone watching right now, I see over 25 people watching us right now. Please, but only 7 people have hit the like button so far. So I need all of you to do it right now, immediately. Please hit that like button below. Support independent media. This is the only way that, if you can't do anything else, please support us in that one small way to just help this channel to grow by hitting that like button. The YouTube algorithm appreciates it, and it will allow more people to see the stream. So the more people they see interacting, more comments, more likes on the stream, more time spent watching. Stick around, stick with us, keep watching. It will help the stream to be seen by more people. So please help us out in that way. You can also share it out on social media. Hit the share button and share it out on whatever social media platforms you have, if you have anyone that you think might be interested in this sort of discussion. So please, if you have any thoughts, comments, leave them in the chat and we will get to them as we can. ADM Rob says, I paid 16.8 times what Trump did in 2017 and much more in 2018 to 2019. That's crazy. That's an average. I'm sure ADM Rob is not a billionaire. No billionaires are out here watching this stream. And if you are, what you need to do right now is go over to my Patreon, sign up on my Patreon, use that guilt, use your millionaire guilt to go head over there and sign up for my $1,000 a month. No, I think it's $2,000 a month rent tier on Patreon. To any millionaires or billionaires that ever watch the stream, go pay my rent, please. So yes, reparations, y'all, reparations. So that's crazy, ADM Rob. That's absolutely nuts. And I think that a lot of working class people will have that same experience, that they've paid, tens of times more than Donald Trump. So Jerome Eusebius says, this is sheer madness. I mean, this alone should make him lose outright. The thing is, he's polling is showing him already doing fairly poorly. Battleground polling is tighter in some of the battleground states. I do think that it maybe in some swing states, maybe there's some moderate voters, but I just think that people already have enough reasons to vote against Trump, and people already have all their reasons that they're going to vote for him. And so the voters that are voting already, you're not going to move those voters around. The people that we need to be going out there to try to get, if your goal is to focus on electoral politics, the people that you need to be thinking about, how do you go out there and get them, are the non-voters, the people who are disengaged from politics right now because they're cynical. They've seen president after president, Democratic administration, Republican administration come into power, and they've gotten nothing in their personal lives. They're struggling still. They're living paycheck to paycheck. 80% of Americans live in paycheck to paycheck. They're still struggling. And so unless the event is that, suddenly Joe Biden comes out and embraces Medicare for all or a Green New Deal, or meets people on policy and shifts his policy to meet people where they are, just support popular policies. That's all they have to do. If Joe Biden wants an easy win at this point, we have economic disaster, we have climate disaster, we have health crises going on right now. If you can't beat the sitting president in at this point right here, I mean, you aren't worth your salt as a politician. This would be an embarrassment. So all they need to do, it's very simple. It's simply meet the people where they are, meet them on the policy, and stop. We cannot expect some negative story about Donald Trump. The dude had the grab him by the pussy. If grab him by the pussy doesn't shift you off of Donald Trump, you think that this thing right here is going to shift you off of Donald Trump? So we can't be waiting around on the left, we definitely shouldn't be waiting around for Donald Trump to do something so terrible. I mean, the dude supports terrible wars. He's a a racist, misogynistic, xenophobic, just bigot. The dude is terrible in every which way you name it. He's failed on economically here. He's failed people. He failed to respond properly in COVID-19. 4% of the world's population, 24% of the world's deaths and cases from COVID-19. And we just saw, we just covered a story where they said they worked out the numbers. Since the beginning of this pandemic in February, over 858 people have died every single day in this country from COVID-19. It's the equivalent of 66 straight days of 9/11. 66 straight 9/11s in a row is what we just had from COVID-19. And that's not enough to, if that hasn't convinced people, those people aren't going to be convinced by, Donald Trump's tax returns came out. You got to do something for these people. You got to offer these people something. And so I don't think that this stuff will have any impact on that, unfortunately.
It's like they like to joke and say that they suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. I don't think it's that at all. It's this will be the one syndrome is what I like to think it is, because it is. We've done it for forever, like you said, we've been voting for Democrats and every time we get hope that things will change and they don't, we said this will be the one when Obama got elected and when he ran, he promised us change. We said this will be the one. And it wasn't that. It wasn't that. We do this will be the one for the tax returns, for the grab them by the pussy video, for every single thing that Trump does. This will be the one. When he slandered the vets and he said the things that he did, this will be the one that turns them off. This will be the one that loses it. And that's not happened. We're wrong every time. So when you look at me and you say, hey, I know that we failed you. But vote for Joe Biden. Hey, this will be the one.
Yeah,
this dude who's not even for Medicare during all of the things that you just listed. This dude who in the middle of one of the biggest, if not the biggest civil rights movement ever, in a defund the police movement, who decided to run with a cop and whose whole dramatic change to stop police brutality was shoot him in the leg. This is your king. This is the dude. This is the one that's going to be the one. And you wonder why people are deflated and uninterested. Why there's no energy there. There's no excitement there.
Yep. And Jerome Eusebius says, otherwise the country is on a dangerous part that people will literally bury their heads in the sand and not listen to anything. Listen, Jerome, I'm telling you, I don't think that people are. I think that people will listen to something. The problem is, this isn't going to move the needle here. This stuff right here, like Kwame's saying there, we keep saying this will be the one. This quote unquote, you're going to see a bunch of articles, videos, news releases that say election bombshell, election bombshell, Donald Trump tax returns released. I've seen them starting already, and I'm telling you, ignore that stuff. Hear me now, quote me later. Just, you got to learn to start to filter through that stuff, because this will be the one is the mentality that we've had for the past 4 years, essentially now. And it's never been the one. It's not, we can't wait for Donald Trump to do something so bad that it turns people off of him. He's already done the worst stuff any president has ever done. There's nothing else that he could possibly do to turn these people off of him. Like he said, he could go out on Fifth Avenue and shoot someone in the face right now, and his supporters would still support him. And I swear, when he said it, he was saying it like kind of freaked out when he said it. If you watch that video of him saying it, he's kind of freaked out by it. He's like, yo, I guys, I think I could actually go out there and shoot somebody right now, and these people would still support me. Like, this is crazy, y'all. Like, this is crazy. But like, so what you have to do is, that politics is never going to work. The only politics that will actually work, that will actually move the needle, that will actually move the needle, is meeting the people where they are. You have to give the people what they want. People support policies, but they don't support these politicians, and they don't care to hear about, a corrupt politician. So what? They're gonna say, Donald Trump's a corrupt politician. So are all of them. You know, who doesn't think that? I bet, you know, 8 out of 10 people watching this stream right now think, most politicians are corrupt, right? Like, come on, that's like it's a meme in and of itself at this stage. So it's like, you know, there is nothing. I just don't think that this is the stuff that's going to move it when people already expect this from politicians, and this isn't anything different than what they're used to hearing.
The issue with the Dems is they're spineless. They do not want to win. They don't want to fight to win. They want Trump to lose. They don't want to win. They don't want to actively win. They want the other party to lose. You know, they're not going to push the policies that will cause them to win. They'd rather wait and hope and pray for the other side to mess up so badly that they'll lose. And that is the complete... I give it up to the Republicans, man. There's a lot of things wrong with them, but my God, are they willing to fight for the things that they believe in? They will fight tooth and nail, they will burn their own house down. They will catch COVID. They will slap their own mama. They don't care. They will do whatever it takes, even if they have to throw all reason out the window. They're like, yeah, I know he may come and I'm married to a person of color who he's going to deport, but damn it, he's going to stop abortion. And I'm willing to whatever it takes. Like
single issue voters.
Yep. And whatever it takes. And I at least give them credit because they're willing to die for the stuff they believe in.
But on the left, what do they say? If you say you're a single issue voter, if you say my candidate has to support Medicare for all, my candidate has to support a Green New Deal, or I will not support them. If you become a single issue voter, what do they tell us on the left? What do they tell us in the Democratic Party? Oh, you can't do purity test. You want purity test. You want litmus test. Having litmus test and having purity test. There's a video of AOC where she says, you know, having a purity test, it's not called having a purity test. It's called having values. It's called having principles. Like, that's what a purity test is. Yes, I have a litmus test. I have a purity test. My litmus test, we all do. We better all have some litmus test, right? You can't murder people if you're gonna, you know, you can't rape if you're gonna be my, you know, my ally. You know, like we have litmus tests, right? We all do. It's the question is, where do we draw the line, right? Where do we draw the line? And I'm sorry for that, you know, that type, but you know, this idea of, like, you know, not having a lot, you know, not having an issue where you say you can't, you know, I will not support you if you cross this line. You know, if you don't move to me on this issue, then you know, you have to come and get me. It's the job of the politician to go out there and get the voters. It's not, the voters don't owe the politicians anything. You know, it's the politicians that owe the voters something. They're the ones we're electing. That's how democracy is supposed to work. They're called representatives because they're supposed to go out there and represent us. And in these folks, they, you know, by and large, they don't do it. So
I haven't felt represented by any of these people in a very long time. It's just I don't get it. I don't understand that whole purity testing, and they always think it's some type of got you. Like I've heard it all the time. Like, well, so what are we supposed to do? You know, if we start doing that, the slippery slope argument comes in. If we do that, we're gonna have to get rid of everyone who's ever said a racial slur. Or had like abhorrent beliefs and bigoted beliefs. And it's like, when it comes to making policy, yes, I mean, if you want to get rid of the Dems who feel that way too, or have these terrible things, I am not going to stop you, not one bit. At least we're consistent on that, you know, like, and be consistent on that, and don't be afraid to do what's right because of, and it's not even about that. It's a scapegoat, so they don't have to actually address these issues, so they can sidestep it. It's not really about a purity test. They don't really genuinely care about any of that. They just, it's all a smokescreen, so they don't have to address the real issues and make the tangible changes that they could make to win us over.
Absolutely. Mundane Matt says, so what did they find in the tax returns? I'll go through that once more here for anyone that's just joining us. If you are just joining us, please do me a favor and just immediately hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, and share out the stream if you can. There's also links to our Patreon in the description box below. You can just open up that description box, click that link, patreon.com/radical democracy. You can also give us a one-time tip at coffee.com/radical democracy. That's ko-fi.com/radical democracy. Links are in the description box below. We don't have the super chat feature enabled on YouTube yet, so please support our work, support the work that we do here, independent media, by just dropping us, as low as $1 on either of these platforms. Please, your support is deeply appreciated. It helps us to continue to exist and to grow. So thank you to all of our Patreon supporters and everyone that has supported the show in that way. We appreciate you. So Mundane Matt says, what did they find in the tax returns? For anyone that's just joining us, I did cover it at the beginning of the stream, but I can cover it. I'll just take you through the sort of top line results of what they found, sort of the highlights of it that they found in the New York Times report. So New York Times came out and released a report of Donald Trump's tax returns. They got about over 2 decades worth of Donald Trump's tax returns, and this is what they highlighted in the report here. So among the key findings of the Times' investigation, Mr. Trump paid no federal income taxes in 11 of 18 years that the Times examined. So Trump paid no federal income taxes in 11 of 18 years that the Times examined. And this is pretty much, over the course of about the last 20 plus years or so. And so, in 11 of the 18 years here that the Times examined. So no federal income taxes in 11 of 18 of those years. In 2017, after he became president, his tax bill was only $750. It was also $750 in 2016 when he was running for president. So in the year that he was elected president, he also paid $750 that year as well. So, and he has reduced his tax bill with questionable measures, including a $72.9 million tax refund that is the subject of an audit by the Internal Revenue Service. Many of his signature businesses, including his golf courses, report losing large amounts of money, losses that have helped him to lower his taxes. The financial pressure on him is increasing as hundreds of millions of dollars in loans he personally guaranteed are soon coming due. Even while declaring losses, he has managed to enjoy a lavish lifestyle by taking tax deductions on what most people would consider personal expenses, including residences, aircraft, and $70,000 in hairstyling for television. So he's declaring those as losses for tax purposes. If he declares it as a loss, then he doesn't have to pay that amount of taxes. So he's like, oh, it's a loss. I got my hair done. Dude, that's on you. Like the rest of us don't get to write off our haircuts for our tax returns for the average working class person. And reading more from this article, Ivanka Trump, while working as an employee of the Trump Organization, appears to have received quote unquote consulting fees that also helped reduce the family's tax bill. So he's paying his kids out in order to, consulting fees that then allows him to write these off in his taxes as well. And as president, he has received more money from foreign sources and U.S. interest groups than previously known. The records do not reveal any previously unreported connections to Russia. So something that I skimmed past a little quickly when I talked about that is significant. We shouldn't lose sight. I think that Donald Trump has normalized the corruption to a new level at this point, where we've come to expect it so much, and we have normalized it so much at this stage that let me get Kwame. So we've normalized it so much at this stage that we think that, okay, well, look at they just said that the president of the United States was receiving money from foreign sources. Like, there's an emoluments clause in the Constitution of the United States. To everyone who believes in our Constitution, then it's folks on the right, it's like wherever you are on the political spectrum, that should be egregious. Like, the president is here taking money in from foreign sources while they're president. It's just not it's not a good look. One, he's a billionaire. He also shouldn't need to be doing this. It was gross when Hillary Clinton was doing it with her foundation, with the Clinton Foundation. It was gross when they were doing it with the Clinton Foundation, and it should be gross to you when Donald Trump is doing it with the Trump Organization and with his businesses here receiving, his hotels. They talked about the hotels in here, that weren't profitable. His Washington hotel, like the Saudi Arabian government rented out like a whole floor of the hotel at one point. It's like this dude should have been impeached based on emoluments, but instead they turned around and impeached Donald Trump based on this Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, scandal story because Trump tried to ask for some information on the Hunter Biden scandal. And meanwhile, it's like now the Democrats notice that they're not talking about the impeachment at all. Why did they go through the entire act of impeachment if they weren't even going to be able to talk about it during the general election? You know why they can't talk about the impeachment? It's because they chose to impeach Donald Trump based on an issue that was I swear it felt deliberately chosen as an ineffectual issue to impeach him on, because they had a whole bunch of stuff, emoluments, that they could have impeached him on. And instead of impeaching him on the emoluments, they impeached him on this thing where now it pulls Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and all of their corruption, their soft legal corruption. It pulls all that into the story, and now it makes it so that you can't use it as a political football at this point, because you've now given up all your power in that, because anytime you bring up the impeachment, anytime you bring up that story, Joe Biden, you can't bring it up with Joe Biden as your nominee, because Joe Biden is directly linked to all of that corruption. So it's Joe Biden's corruption that's highlighted when you talk about Donald Trump's impeachment. Somehow Donald Trump's impeachment, the main theme of Donald Trump's impeachment is Joe Biden's corruption. And the Democrats chose that. And I railed at the time and said, this is absurd. You cannot go out and impeach on this moronic issue when there's all these crucial issues. But why won't they impeach on emoluments? Because they know that then Hillary Clinton would have been impeachable on emoluments as well. Like, these people have really shady business dealings with foreign governments where they buy favor with our government through our elected officials. And this is what do you think? Feel free to jump in here.
It's that really screwed up thing, like, hey man, take the sacrifice. You made your bed, freaking lay in it, dude. You can't have our country go to shambles because you can't go after the bad guy because y'all did the same things as the bad guy. That's a sign that maybe you shouldn't be where you're at. And I know it falls on deaf ears. They're not going to turn themselves in. They're not going to have any clarity on this. But like, it's hard not to feel that way. Like you said, they've compromised themselves because they can't attack them without taking down half of their own peoples on it. And it's just, it is top to bottom, just disgusting. Like, this is, I don't even. It's just garbage. It's weak garbage. It's just absolutely weak garbage. They don't know how to play this game. They can't be cutthroat. They can't stand by their morals. They don't have a winning strategy. Their strategies suck. They don't know how to excite people. It's just like, what are you all good at? What are you good for?
And you say that like they don't know how to play this game, but I swear sometimes I feel like they do know how to play this game and they are playing it exactly how they intend to play it, because come on, if it's obvious to you and I as like everyday people, you mean to tell me that Nancy Pelosi and all these people, they can't see that, Donald Trump had just historic. Rashida Tlaib came out and made the strong statement when she said, impeach that motherfucker. That was that she made that bold statement. She was referring to impeach him on emoluments, impeach him on the issue of emoluments, because there's a there, and there's so much there. And it's a valid, issue that we should be impeaching on. We should be saying, listen, they made Jimmy Carter divest from his peanut farm, dude. Like, you definitely should be divesting from these massive, corporate business interests for Donald Trump. And he didn't. And they said he did a blind trust. It's not a blind trust when you put your children in charge of it.
Yeah.
That's not a blind trust. He put Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump in charge of his quote unquote blind trust. And we're supposed to believe that him and his kids aren't talking about what's going on with the business, or he doesn't have the ability to just look and see, are the things that I'm doing beneficial to my business? Does when the Saudis come and stay and rent out a whole floor of my hotel, and then all of a sudden I make billion-dollar weapons contracts with the Saudi Arabian government so that they can use those weapons to go and commit genocide in Yemen. Well, it's all to line the pockets of our president. That we should have impeached Donald Trump based on the fact that he interfered. He vetoed the resolution that would have ended the U.S. involvement in the war on Yemen. It was the first act of Congress to actually use the War Powers Act in our lifetimes. And here we had Congress get together and say, you know what, both houses of Congress, you had a Republican Senate, vote to say, yes, the U.S. needs to end their involvement in the war in the genocide against the Yemeni people. And you had Donald Trump come in and veto that after he was received financial gain from this very government. Come on, it's too easy. You mean to tell me that if you and I can see all that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and all these people, that they don't see that too? No, they definitely see this stuff. And it's just that they do this stuff intentionally. They're intentionally weak. When they chose the issue, it was like everything was just laying out there. Every left organization, independent media outlet that I was watching at the time was like, what the hell are they doing? Whoa, wait, what? TYT, even everybody was just like, why are they impeaching on this ridiculous, absurd issue? Why would you, of all the things that Donald Trump does wrong, this is the thing you're going to hone in on? And now look at what they did. They set themselves up for this. So, it's just, when you say they don't know how to play this game, sometimes I wonder, I do believe often that they do know how to play the game, and they are playing exactly how they're intended to do it, what you said earlier, which is to just keep on passing the ball back and forth between them, between the quote unquote, moderate Republican and moderate, Democrats, even though with the Republicans, they're willing to feed their base and to shift to the right. And so they're going back and forth now, not with a moderate Republican, but with a far right, neo-fascist Donald Trump, essentially. And so they're content playing that game back and forth, because as long as the establishment structures maintain power, and maintain power, and they're fine. That's why you see images of Chuck Schumer and Donald Trump yucking it up and stuff, and they're all friendly behind doors and stuff. They're all buds. They don't really care who gets elected, Joe Biden or Donald Trump. Like, there was a recent report that came out where Wall Street's donating 5 times more to Joe Biden than they are to Donald Trump right now, because they're going to do, Wall Street, the real estate, the big banks, the pharmaceutical companies, fossil fuel industry, they're all going to do fine no matter which one of these people get elected. And so they're not really concerned. It's just like little tinkering around the edges. Shout out to our brother there, Scott Walters, in the comments, says they were released 4 years too late, referring to Trump's tax returns, were released 4 years too late. It won't sway anyone at this point. Yeah, totally agree there, Scott. Totally agree that it's too late at this stage. I think that it would have had some political impact in 2016. I just don't think that Trump's tax returns at this stage have much of a political impact, unfortunately. I mean, I wish it weren't so. Coney V says Medicare for all has 80% public support, and Biden still can't commit to it. He would win instantly if he just promised that one thing. Exactly. It's one thing. One policy. And honestly, here's the thing. This is crazy. And I shouldn't be saying this, but this is crazy. But he doesn't even have to actually freaking do it.
I was thinking that.
To say it. He only has to say it. Even Obama ran on more progressive policies than what he actually implemented. And you can bet your ass that whatever somebody runs on, you're going to get less than that. You're getting less than that. That's the part that
scares me about all this, right? Is at least Obama, when he blew smoke up my ass, he told me he was going to take me to the Ritz. This dude is telling me he's going to make me Kraft macaroni and cheese, and he's not even going to do that much, so we're bargaining from a losing position.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how are you trying to borrow $100 when you started at 150? Because that's what Joe Biden is. He's $1.50.
Yeah, man. Like this is it's like it's not like, again, he doesn't actually have to do anything about it, really. He doesn't have to
be
do
bothered
anything
to
about it.
say it.
But
Can't even be bothered to
rhetoric.
fake the funk.
Yeah, it would just take rhetoric. And if he really believed in the things like public option and things like that, then he would start from the position of Medicare for all, start at the, at the further position or whatever. And because when you go into a negotiation, you're going to have to compromise a little bit, right? You're going to have to move a little bit off of your position in some sort of compromise. And it's like, but this dude has literal in Medicare for all, mind you, in the Democratic Party, it has 88% support in a recent Hills Harris X poll. It had 88% support. And I think this was from July or August. So this is very recent polling and reliable polling on this issue. And 88% amongst Democrats, 66% amongst all people, Democrat, Republican, and independent. So this is a 2/3 of all people in the entire country support this policy. And you mean to tell me that you won't take that position? That's an easy one. And there's a whole lot of people that would go out there, people like myself, that would make some phone calls and knock on some doors and actually go out there and support his campaign in a way if he had just done that little basic. But instead of doing that, we got Joe Biden out here, laughing and talking shit about how he beat the socialists and essentially spitting in the face and shitting on Bernie, like, oh, I beat the socialists, the socialists lost and I beat the socialists. So, I don't believe in socialism. It's like people are, there's a whole generation of people that actually have a more favorable view of socialism than of capitalism. Yeah. I'm not saying you got to go out there and run on the brand of socialism. It's just like, you just don't have to shit on it. All you do, focus on actually telling people what you're going to give them. But the thing is, he's not going to give people anything. And so he's not saying what he doesn't have anything to offer.
It's what pisses me off about it, because they want to force us to reach across the aisle, compromise, and come over to their side, when all I see them do is reach across the aisle to Republicans. They say these things and they work harder to court them and to than they ever do for us. And it's just the sad realization that's because they're not on our side. They have more in common with them than they do with us. So of course they have an easier time reaching out to someone that's more like them.
Yep, absolutely. They'd rather court that 6% of moderate Republicans versus the 40% of the progressive Democratic base. Like they would just, for whatever reason, and we know why, because they're corporate donors. They're bought by the same corporate donors, and their interests are more closely aligned with the Republicans than with their own, the own base of their party. So yeah, it's unfortunate. It's just that Joe Biden doesn't believe it. He's antagonistic towards a Medicare for all policy, because he's bought and paid for by the insurance industry and big pharma, and what is he, like almost 80 years old? The dude, you're not changing his mind. 77 years old, you're not changing his mind at this point. He just doesn't believe in this stuff. He vehemently disagrees with us on these policy issues. And in any normal democracy, Joe Biden and AOC would not be in the same party. They would not be a part of the same party. But we have this really screwed up two-party duopoly where you're just forced into making this, binary choice, one or the other, when a lot of the time it's no choice at all for anyone. Yeah, so Jerome says, but we live with the other nutcases who don't care what he does. Also, what is the swamp trying to clear? Sorry, that wasn't the comment I meant to pull up. Elijah says, Elijah Theum, shout out to Elijah, new commenter. Thanks for being here with us, Elijah. Elijah says, have the Republicans taken over the DNC? We have essentially one corporate party at this point. And
it's that, hey, Elijah, the Spider-Man meme where the two Spider-Mans are pointing at each other and they realize, hey, it's you're me. That's the Dems and the Republicans. Take that meme, put Dem and then REP on this side, and yeah, there's nothing to take over. They're the same person.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's just one. It's a one party system disguised as a two party system is what we have at this point.
And then you get, like you said, an AOC or a Bernie Sanders who just are like, I guess I'll go in this camp, even though they have nothing in common with them.
Yep. And Connie V, correction. Sorry about that, Connie V. Thanks for the correction there. Connie V says, yes, Dems are being quote unquote weak on purpose because they're not actually against anything the GOP are doing. They're both the same party and each makes money by creating resistance theater against the other. This is absolutely spot on, 100% accurate. I love the term resistance theater. I think that that's exactly what it is. It's they want to give the appearance. And this is why the Democrats are happy to push for losing candidates in the Senate, like Amy McGrath against Charles Booker to run against Mitch McConnell. Amy McGrath has a 0% chance of beating Mitch McConnell, but they don't want to beat Mitch McConnell. They're happy with Mitch McConnell. They're happy with what they got with Mitch McConnell. He's a known entity for them, and they're perfectly okay with having to what they're controlled opposition essentially.
Yeah.
They're just controlled opposition is what it is. And so it's both of them being controlled by the sort of corporate, oligarchy is really, they're both, and that's why you as Chris Hedges put it in his recent speech at the People's Convention, our choice in this next election is between either the the neo-fascist oligarchy of Donald Trump or neoliberal oligarchy of Joe Biden, and those are two terrible choices that we're faced with, unfortunately. So
it's a lot like the media. When that day I woke up, the mainstream media, and realized that a lot of them, that Trump is good for them. It keeps people tuned in, the wildness. He's good for business. Once I realized that, it feels like very much the same thing. Like it's aliens versus predators, the tagline from that movie. Aliens versus predators. No matter who wins, we lose. And if you like those cheesy movie references, Raise Media over on that side.
Yep. Please, everyone, support Raise Fist Media as well. You can find them on YouTube at Raise Fist Media, and also on Patreon at patreon.com/raised fist media. I'll throw up a quick banner. I know I got something there. So you can go to patreon.com/raised fist media, support Kwame over there. And I'm also, that's an effort that Kwame and I are working on. But Kwame's running the show over there right now.
But only after you support radical democracy.
Absolutely.
Get him first. Him. Oh, you're on that side. Get him first. Yeah.
Yep. And you can do that. There's links in the description box below. Please, we really do need your support. So please, everyone, if you can afford just $1 a month, it's just $1 a month, $12 a year. If you can afford it. If you can't afford it, no shame there. Totally understand. These are crazy times, pandemic, mass unemployment, greatest depression in US history. Don't feel bad in any way if you can't contribute in that way. But if you can afford to, please support the show on Patreon for as low as $1 a month. Patreon.com/radical democracy. If you sign up for $5 a month or more, you'll also be added to our Discord server. So you'll get an invite link to our Discord server where you can chat with us, make suggestions, about, for the show, and post news articles that you would like to, either you just want to draw our attention to or would like to see covered on the show. So please support the show in that way. Patreon.com/radical democracy. Links are in the description box below. So please hit those links in the description box below and support us that way. You can also leave us a one-time tip in place of a super chat at coffee.com/radical democracy. That's ko-fi.com/radical democracy. So thank you so much to everyone for being with us so far. We are reporting on the breaking news that Donald Trump, the New York Times released decades of Donald Trump's tax returns today. And so we've been taking a look through some of the findings of those tax returns and just discussing our initial reaction to it. We've essentially my general take on it has been that it appears that it's kind of what we expected from out of Donald Trump. I'll pull up this article from the Times here. just to have that on screen with us as well. And as you can see, you know, some of the key highlights was really that Trump paid only, you know, no federal income tax in 11 of 18 years. And then in 2016 and 2017, that's the year that he became president. In 2017, he paid only $750 in taxes each of those years. There's also a controversial tax refund that he received for $72.9 million that, you know, has significantly reduced his overall tax bill. The average person in his income bracket typically pays about $24 million a year over $25 million a year in taxes, and he only paid about $1.4 million in the year that they reviewed. Many of his signature businesses, including his golf courses, report losing large amounts of money, so losses that have helped him to lower his taxes. So his businesses are not doing well, and he's able to use those failing businesses essentially to reduce his overall tax bill. So the financial pressure on him is increasing as hundreds of millions of dollars in loans he personally guaranteed are soon coming due. Even while declaring losses, he has managed to enjoy a lavish lifestyle by taking tax deductions on what most people would consider personal expenses, including residences, aircraft, $70,000 in hairstyling for television. And as president, he has received more money from foreign sources and U.S. interest groups than previously known. But the records do not reveal any previously unreported connections to Russia. So this doesn't further the Russiagate narrative. I know that's going to depress the Rachel Maddows of the world, that they won't be able to use this, but I'm sure she'll still find a way to, you know, turn this into like a 20 episode, series where they'll slowly peel back each layer, you know, creating this grand conspiracy that will ultimately be discovered to have been all a crock of shit, essentially. So, you know, it's what happened with the Russiagate scandal. Essentially, it took up a lot of our time and a lot of our energy, a lot of our just the oxygen in media, and nothing came of it. There was no, you know, Trump wasn't impeached through it. The Mueller report didn't, you know, end Donald Trump. And so unfortunately, I don't believe that this is going to have much of an impact on the upcoming election, because unfortunately, there is just people already have decided why they support Donald Trump or don't at this stage. And there's just not likely to, this isn't the kind of stuff that moves the needle for anyone. You know, if you're for or against Trump, if you're somebody that's a likely voter right now, you already know, you know, you by and large know where you're going to land. I mean, there is a large contingent of undecided voters, but I don't think that those voters are going in and deciding, for the most part, you know, not a significant enough amount. Of course, there's going to be some people. This will sway some people. Of course, it's going to sway some people. But I just don't buy into any notion that this is going to be some dramatic, you know, election altering event here. I think that it will make for good, you know, news, you know, some interesting news cycles, but in a few news cycles, this will by and large have been forgotten. And I just don't think when people go into the booth now, people are getting a lot of states have started early voting at this stage. You know, many states have already started mailing out, you know, ballots already, and people, some states have already, you know, people are already mailing ballots back in some states. So mail-in voting has already begun in some states. Here in Massachusetts, mail-in voting has already begun. So people can, you know, this could, you know, this is going to have some, you know, impact on it. I just think that it will be by and large minor impact. I'm gonna check out comments, see if we got any more. Just Elijah says, no worries, Connie didn't have any Coney 2012 vibes.
If y'all were wondering why I fell on the table laughing about like 10 to 15 minutes ago, it was because I peeped that comment on the side.
Yeah,
our bad on the
so sorry about that, Connie. Yeah. Nobody wants that associated with them, I would imagine. So Yeah, shout out to FL in the comments. That's one of our supporters here on the show. Shout out to FL. Thank you so much for being here, FL. Glad to see you here. And to X as well. Shout out to X. I see you there. So thanks so much for being here with us. If you haven't already, please do me a favor and immediately hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, and share this video out on social media. Really appreciate that.
I want to challenge y'all real quick since I'm in here. We're gonna do Kamali, if you're good with disclosing, when's your birthday?
January 3rd, the date. Yeah.
So January 3rd, I want to see all kinds of coffee tips hit before this man's birthday. I want them all to be $7.50 donations, and we're gonna do this in honor of Donald Trump, so my man can call like Trump for his birthday.
Yeah, right.
All $7.50 donations, please, to support the show.
Dude, I would like. It's $750 is what Trump paid to anyone that doesn't,
get the $7.50 reference.
$750 a year in 2016 and 2017, and I mean it does, at least it gives people proof, some sort of proof here that Trump is broker than what he says. He's not as rich as what he says, and that. In 2016, this would definitely play well. And if this were 2016, this would have had a massive impact. I think although let's be real,
we knew it. You don't remember when this all first started? He started running, and I think was it Mark Cuban who came out and was like, yeah, he's a joke amongst when all of the millionaires get together to play poker and stuff. He's the one they all clown because he doesn't really fit in because he's not as rich as he said he was. I believe it was Mark Cuban who said that.
Yeah,
I believe it.
Yeah, and that played into Trump's his sort of populist appeal. I think that played into it because people saw him as sort of an outsider. It was like, oh, he's an outsider. He's not in the club. But the sad thing was that he just desperately wanted to be in the club. Yeah. You don't want somebody that's not in the club, but desperately wants to be in the club. You need somebody, if you're going to pick an outsider, pick the outsider. And this is part of Bernie Sanders' failings as well, is that part of him still wants to be a part of the club with Bernie Sanders. And that's why he still plays the Joe Biden is my friend game and all that sort of friendly stuff. It's like Bernie Sanders also wants to be a part of that club to some respect. And so it's what I think was part of his undoing ultimately. But Donald Trump, definitely, he's always been, just always right on the outskirts of this, wanting to be in, he's always been on the outside wanting to be in. And I think that's the unfortunate thing, that he gets this he has this aura or identity as being this sort of outsider kind of guy, but it's only because he's just he's always been there right on the edges, wishing he were there. He talked about how, Hillary Clinton, I paid them off and then she had to come to my wedding, and it's just he can't, because he cares about their approval, and he wants their acceptance. He's one of those tell me I'm good, please tell me I'm good kind of people. He needs that. He feeds off it. Literally he's not a very smart person. He's not a very successful. He doesn't have any skills, anything special about him. Literally the only thing this man has is his ego. Literally. Everything else he had handed to him, or he failed his way into everything. It's just, yeah. Man, he was just handed it all daddy's money, but he's self-made. That kills me, this concept of self-made. And don't get me wrong, it's not just about having the money. It's having the ability to have the opportunity, having the connections to make it. That's that privilege that people don't think of, because there are people who started businesses and their parents may not have been millionaires, but they had parents who could afford to send them to a decent enough school, and who afforded to even have garages for them to design their apps in, that they made millions of dollars off of. So it doesn't even have to be that million for us to realize that a lot of these people who say that they're self-made and they built their way up from nothing, it's not true. I just hope that there's I luckily I think that most of our, our certainly our regulars here, and I hope nobody watching this has that idea in their mind that there's any such thing as a self-made billionaire. That's an absurd idea. No human being can produce that much individually. It simply cannot be done. It requires by definition essentially the exploitation of working people and the extraction of the surplus of their labor. So there's no such thing as a self-made billionaire. Sure, you by yourself were willing to exploit a whole bunch of people, and maybe I think it's Robert Reich, who that's like Bill Clinton's, economic advisor, who said like there's no millionaire or billionaire today who didn't get their, there's no billionaire alive today who didn't get their money through some either ill-gotten gains, some insider trading, something like where this idea that you're self-made is just like, no, they check out our Labor Day special to really go into detail on why they absolutely are not making anything. These billionaires, they're not the makers of society, really. They're not the ones that are actually producing. They're not adding their labor to anything to produce anything of value. And we've seen that with the pandemic. Who's the essential workers? Who's actually essential to society right now?
Can I hijack and I was able to find it. Can I show you that story I referenced earlier real quick?
Absolutely, please do.
So we've got here, from zero. Oh, let me pull it up so y'all can see it good. From 0 to 1 million in 2 years. Entrepreneurs tap branding market at 19 years old. So that's something pretty amazing, right? We can all admit 19, you did something, you self-made, man. You self-made. Now let's go to the clarification. So we started it from nothing. It took a lot of hard work, but we're passionate about it. Putting our customers first, going that extra mile to deliver what they need, which isn't always easy, but we were able to slowly build a loyal customer base and develop a local reputation and overall a great service. This is really good old-fashioned getting in there and grinding, working hard, Gilbert said, who is in the College of Literature, Science, and Arts. Their top vendor is Quicken Loans, which his father, Dan Gilbert, founded.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. So that's your self-made there. That's your self-made millionaire right there. I mean, the Quicken Loans, it's like, they got to be, in the hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue, possibly, $1 billion company, but at least in the hundreds of millions.
Right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And
maybe if Donald Trump
business management software.
If Donald Trump had hollered at them, maybe his taxes would have came out less jacked. I don't know.
Dude, and I swear, we say we can joke and say it's jacked up, but man, this dude, he straight ripped off the U.S. government essentially. I didn't pay my taxes all 1 year. Like 1 year, I didn't pay all my taxes. I got paid by a company who I was a contractor for, and I didn't realize that they weren't taking the taxes out of the checks or whatever. And so at the end of the year, I had a few $1,000s that was owed, and I was broke. I was unemployed at the time, so I didn't pay it. And then months later, the state just comes in and puts a lien on my bank account, and just takes my money out there. But here you got a so-called billionaire who is paying $750 a year, and nobody's coming after him for that money. So we end up the average working class people, somebody working at McDonald's paid more in taxes than Donald Trump did in 2016 and 2017. So that's horrendous, if you ask me. That's not a democratic way to share the burden of taxes. So yeah, that's that. I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts that you want to share on it? I'll check through the comments, see if we have any other comments that we want to get to, but what more can I say? Lord. Oh boy, it's all right there. I mean, again, it's a lot
it's kind of like a big deal, but it's not earth shattering. This isn't the smoking gun. I'm sorry. I doubt any of your regular you viewers were tuning in expecting that smoking gun. This isn't TYT. Jank's not gonna pop up and push the button and you're gonna get the "we got him" sound clip. I'm
Down
sorry,
goes
y'all.
Donald Trump.
Down
Goes Donald.
No,
like, no.
that button is never going to get pressed while this man is president. We'll be lucky if it ever gets pressed, period. I hope that
I wonder
further on down the line when he doesn't have this protection and there's less, eyes on him when he's out of the spotlight and everything. I like to think that he will go to jail and pay for all of the just horrific things he's done, but I doubt.
Yeah, I honestly doubt that. We'll see. There is the one thing that like makes you wonder is that his lawyer went to jail for like campaign finance violations that he was named as the other party in that thing. So like, and the dude went to if you're going to put the lawyer that did it in jail, you definitely got to put the party who he was doing it for in jail too, right? Like that would be crazy to me. So I mean, the president, an ex-US president, has never been put in jail. So I won't hold my breath on it or anything like that. But like some countries are bold enough to actually put their former presidents, like in South Korea, they over corruption, they put their president in jail. Like she did some, like
we protect corruption too much in this country. If he goes down afterwards, it's going to be like some leaked video from an Epstein party or something connected to that. If I had to guess, it's going to be something that is so abhorrent they can just other him and not have to open up the spotlight on everybody else's shady dealings. It's going to be something that's not going to catch up a lot of people. He's going to go out as a sacrificial lamb. That's what I'm predicting, at least.
You think Trump will go out? You think Trump would, or
Trump? Yeah. I don't think it'll be anything finance related and anything tangible that he should go for that could take down other people or anyone else could be connected to. It's going to be something like that. Something that they could just burn him and get him out of the spotlight and finally like, all right, you wanted him, see, and now we'll clean this up, and then they'll all pat themselves on the back about it and use it to say, see, we did good. You wanted him, we finally got him.
Yeah.
Then the Republicans will be like, oh, we're turning over a new leaf. We're gonna drain the swamp from within. We hear you. We're gonna do this, and it's not gonna be anything tangible.
Yeah.
He's always the fall guy.
Yeah, like if they can, like they're just so weak on stuff like this. I mean, we got literal war criminals as for our ex-presidents. Like pretty much every ex-president in this country is a war criminal. George Bush, Barack Obama, Donald Trump. These are all war criminals. And if they won't put them in jail over that, like then I find it hard to believe that because it's about like keeping up an image to these people, and and also protecting themselves, right? They don't want them to be next. They know that, holy shit, if we put Trump in jail for all of his corruption, we might end up going to jail for our corruption. Like, so they don't want to get him on anything like that. They're not gonna hit him on any sort of issue like that. And so
he probably isn't even gonna go down. In like 5 or 6 years from now, we're going to be tuning on TV after Michelle Obama has replaced Ellen, and we'll see her rehabilitating Donald Trump on there like Ellen does her other war criminal friends. That's what we'll see in about 5 years from now.
Yeah.
We'll be seeing pictures of Donald Trump painting or whittling wood, and everyone will be fawning over him as the real whatever far past the pale fascist we have at that time that we're dealing with. Everyone's gonna be like, see, we complained, but that Trump guy wasn't so bad, man. I wish we had Republicans like him again, honestly.
If we saw it with George Bush, man, if George Bush's thing can be, if his image can be
John McCain
rejuvenated, then Donald Trump's can too. In 10 years, I swear, we're gonna be like Ellen's gonna be dancing with Donald Trump, and it's gonna be like, oh,
Milano, whoever they swap him out with.
You remember before President Tucker Carlson, how it was so nice when we had just Donald Trump. It was just the mean tweets. He didn't actually have, like, he wasn't doing like firing squads of immigrants because they were dirty, vile, disgusting, and this is it's just going to be, they'll find a way to rehabilitate his image, and they're more concerned about that and about keeping up that image than they are about actual justice for the literal crimes being committed by Donald Trump or former U.S. presidents as well. So
hey, at least then we'll be able to celebrate our first Black Republican vice president, Candace Owens. So at least we'll have that going for us. The Tucker Candace frickin' ticket. Ugh, I shouldn't put that out in the ether.
I know, right?
I apologize.
Like, don't do that to us. Don't do that to us. Like,
oh God, oh boy,
that could happen. Still, don't say that.
No,
it's 2020, man, and
we had murder hornets for a little bit. I don't count nothing out. What happened to the aliens?
Did you see recently there was like an alien, like there was like a UFO?
Yes, they confirmed it, and it didn't go anywhere. So like we'll have to deal with that around that time, guys. Just wait till season 3 of United States of America. It's gonna be a wild one.
So it's just this news is, to me, it's just unsurprising by and large. It was this is what I knew of Donald Trump. It's what I expected of Donald Trump. And so I'm just not, color me not surprised. And I don't, unfortunately, to those wondering, I just don't think that this is going to have any significant impact on the election. I think if anyone's concerned about impact, an impact on, if Joe Biden wants to impact the election, wants to secure his chances, just support Medicare for all, support a Green New Deal. The policies are there. The people would be, enthusiastically behind Joe Biden if he would just support these policies. These sorts of issues, if grabbing them by the pee, and there are very good people on both sides of Charlottesville, with Nazis marching in the streets. If this isn't enough, if the dude just extrajudicial killings of U.S. civilians, like deeming Black Lives Matter or Antifa or like Black identity extremists,
Central Park 5.
The Central Park 5. I mean, if these things don't pull you off, they're sending crime, they're sending rapists.
They were sued for discriminating. They were sued. Him and his pops were literally sued for writing that on the applications at the hotel. They were sued for discrimination.
Yeah. So if
none of it changes anything.
Yeah. If that doesn't change your mind, then something like this just isn't big enough to shift you off of Donald Trump, unfortunately. And so I just think that, it's if you want to move people at this stage, you gotta go to the voters who aren't voting right now, who the ones that are already voting, they're dug in. They have all the reasons to vote. They know which way they're going by and large. The undecided voters, this isn't the kind of issue that they're going to decide on. You got to, if you want to get the real undecided voters, the 100,000, non-voters, the largest voting bloc in the entire country, go after them. The easy way to go after them is just give them something that they haven't, promise them something real. You show them that you're actually going to fight for something real. And then they'll show up and literally have to risk their lives, because let's be real, like this election, if you're going to vote in person, that's literally risking your life at this stage, and so you got to give people a reason to vote. If you're asking to literally risk their lives to go out there and vote for you, you got to be able to put something out there for people as well. Brian Dew says, quote, "We live in an era where everything is shocking and nothing is surprising," end quote. Like, yes, like we live in an era where everything is shocking and nothing is surprising. Like, of course, this stuff is like terrible stuff. You got the president paying only $750 a year. He was taking more money than he was, letting on from foreign governments. That's something that if that was Hillary Clinton, a whole bunch of right wingers would be losing, their brains would be exploding, and they would be losing their minds over this. But unfortunately, Donald Trump has normalized corruption to the point that it really is like, and we've built up an immunity to this stuff. Because this stuff is so, it's just been normalized so much, and the corruption is normalized. They're allowed to take money from foreign governments. The Clinton Foundation was taking it, and you had Democrats defending her activities and her behaviors there, and so now they feel hypocritical to turn back around. We can't talk about the Hunter Biden issue, and so it's just like this stuff is nothing it surprises us anymore, because it's just kind of what we expect out of these corrupt politicians at this stage. And it's unfortunate that it's so just so normalized, and so like we've just eroded people's so desensitized. We've just become so desensitized to this information that it's like, okay, the president's taking money from foreign governments. We know he was corrupt. We know he was violating emoluments clauses, and still nothing. So thanks for the comment, Brian. Shout out to our Patreon supporter, Brian Dew. Massive shout out to Brian. Shout out to our entire Patreon community. In fact, anyone who supports the show in that way. We recently hit 10 Patreon supporters. So that was a huge milestone for us. And so please become our 11th. Help us. We got another Patreon subscriber. That is awesome. Awesome. So I'll check out and I will see. Let me take a look at who our newest. Okay, Connie is our newest Patreon subscriber. Massive shout out to Connie for becoming a $10 a month Patreon subscriber. Thank you so much, Connie. Thank you.
Appreciate you
so much, Connie. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Connie. Really appreciate that. I hope you're still around to see the shout out, to hear the thanks. Sorry that I didn't see it earlier and get to it earlier, Connie. But thank you so much to Connie's been in the comments here, and became our newest Patreon supporter. So thank you so much. Shout out to Connie, Connie V in the comments here for their support. Thank you so much, Connie. Really appreciate that. Thank you for becoming our newest Patreon subscriber. Please, join Connie, join the rest of our Patreon community at patreon.com/radical democracy. Links are in the description box below. Thank you so much to everyone who supports us in that way. It really is just deeply appreciated. I don't even have the words to thank you enough. So thank you, Connie. I really appreciate that. Shout out to Connie there, and to all of our Patreon community. That's awesome. Thank you so much. So this news has been, I look forward to seeing what's going to come of how the mainstream media will respond to this news. Ugh. I think that they're going to eat this up, because it's going to be enough to like put on news cycles to grab attention through news cycles. And I think that they can drum up enough fear. I think that they'll do a lot of fear mongering on this and say, it doesn't necessarily have to be fear mongering per se, but like to sensationalize it. They'll sensationalize the story to make it so that it's like, oh, look, but this is, and we can try to sensationalize all we want, but I just don't think that this is really impactful stuff. I think that it doesn't make a difference to people's actual
nothing lives. Burger. It's a nothing burger.
Yep. Big nothing burger. I agree. I think that it's something that will take up some airwaves for a while. It grabs attention, but by and large, I think that it's not going to move the needle as far as the election's concerned.
The only thing I can see this possibly doing is being something that they can use to try and push Breonna Taylor, who did not get the justice she deserved after being murdered by the police, out of the news cycle. And that's the only thing that I could see that them really doing with this story.
Yeah, pushing pushing the stories that matter sort of out of the airways, because they would rather talk about something like this, of course, than to have to actually talk about like policies that they're going to promise for people. They don't want to have to talk about issues like Medicare for all, these upcoming debates. Like, oh man, this is definitely going to play into the debates as well, right? Like this, they're definitely going to bring this up in the debates. This will absolutely play into the debates.
He's gonna think he's gonna have the best mic drop. I can see Biden freaking like paid like your taxes, right? And then he's gonna cut and look at the camera like Jim from The Office and do a little wink, and it's gonna be terrible. It's gonna be terrible.
Yeah, we know, but yeah, they'll absolutely. Yeah, that's man. Yeah, the debates are I think the first one is Tuesday, if I'm remembering correctly off the top of my head here. We're gonna do some live coverage of the debates. I'm sure I'll cover it live for sure. So we'll do live coverage of the debates. Please join us for that. Hopefully, Kwame will be around to join us for some of that at least. Drop in and hear some of his thoughts in that debate, as in those debates. So I think the first one is on September 29th, which is Tuesday. So first debate, September 29th. This is absolutely gonna, and I mean, let's be real, this is no surprise that this news drops 2 days before the debates, right? Like they had this, and this is an oppo, research dump here. Like somebody had this and they knew they wanted that. This was their perfect timing here. They're going to release it right before the first debates. This is going to be a nice, now Joe Biden has a bunch of ammunition that he can use to do what? To not have to talk about actual freaking policies, right? So that they don't have to actually talk about any policy. So this is the perfect distraction so that they can just, look over here, squirrel. Oh, Donald Trump's tax return. Now we don't have to talk about a Green New Deal, fight for 15. The fact that we're gonna talk about this article on the next show. But Politico recently came out with an article about how the Dems are backing off on the fight to legalize cannabis federally. Like
I saw that.
It's such trash. They're so bad. They're so bad at this stuff. It's like, so we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about, the fight for 15, raising the minimum wage, Medicare for all, Green New Deal. The focus won't be there. The focus, I guarantee you that there are more questions asked that refer to, or Donald Trump's tax returns take up more time than Medicare for all in the next debate, even though healthcare is the number one issue on people's, for any, average person. Healthcare is the number one issue. So, I just want to give one more time massive shout out to our newest Patreon patron. Shout out to Connie. Thank you so much, Connie. And Connie says, I love what you're doing. You're the first YouTuber I've supported on Patreon. That is awesome, Connie. That is so cool. That's amazing. I can't thank you enough. That's amazing. I can't thank you enough. I don't even know how the words just they don't come to me. I don't have the words to describe my appreciation, and just I thank you. I am deeply humbled. We are deeply humbled here by that. Thank you so much for your support. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I'm speechless. And that's a hard thing for me because I never know how to shut up. So thank you so much, Connie, for your support and for just being here with us and leaving your thoughts here in the comments. We really appreciate the interaction and the engagement from the community. We are, we build this platform, Radical Democracy, because we are, trying to build workplace democracy. We believe that is the real way that we can finally take control of our democracy, is to build it starting with democracy in the workplace. So one worker, one vote on all major decisions, what to do, where to do it, who gets to do it, how it gets done, and what to do with the profits of that labor. We believe in deciding that democratically, one worker, one vote, and all of those major decisions. And we're building that here. So when you support our channel, you are supporting democracy in the workplace, which we believe is the move that we need to make to actual, and this is, supported by economists like Richard Wolff that we use, we reference on this show a lot, is that this is the fundamental change that we need to make in our society, we believe, in order to get to a post-capitalist society, one where we don't have employers and employees, a handful of employers who, get to make all the decisions. The board of directors, the major shareholders get to make all the decisions about who to work, where to work, when to work, how to work, and what gets done with the surplus of your labor. We don't believe that you should leave those decisions in up to a handful of people, to be made over the masses of people. So please support that movement by supporting the show, like Connie, our newest Patreon subscriber. You can do so at patreon.com/radical democracy. Links are in the description box below. Shout out to everyone who joined us on the stream and for being here and chatting with us. Really deeply appreciate that, for all the great comments from all of our community. Awesome. We will start to wrap things up soon, but we're not going just yet. But please, if you have any other thoughts, questions, comments you want to share, please leave them in the chat right now. Questions for Kwame, questions for myself, anything like that, please ask in the chat there. And Kwame, you have some thoughts, something you want to share there?
I actually am gonna have to go a little bit sooner,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Yep.
But I did want to, thank you for having me. Thank you guys all for
Absolutely.
having me on here. I always appreciate when I can jump on here and chop it up with y'all. I appreciate you guys having me on with my antics. I know this is very dire, serious stuff. Don't mistake my jokes here and there for not taking this seriously. It's just, an adage. I feel like, especially as a Black person growing up in this world of America, like, we got to laugh our way through a lot of this stuff because it's the only way that we can make it. And, that's why I do my hashtag laughing through the tears, because I don't know what else to do other than crack a joke and keep him. It's either that or scream into the endless void. So I do appreciate y'all having me on here in my little silly ways every now and again. And like I said, keep on supporting what we're doing here at Radical Democracy. This cannot happen without y'all. We really appreciate y'all. And we're, like I said, don't forget about the challenge. We finna make my friend over here ball like Trump. $7.50 one-time donations on coffee. I want to see those 750s on there, fam.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, I really appreciate y'all having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being with us, Kwame. Really appreciate that, and we will hopefully have you on again soon. We'll definitely have Kwame on again soon. Recurring support, friend of the show here. So thank you so much for being with us. Appreciate that, and we'll catch you soon, brother.
Appreciate y'all.
All right, take care. All right, Kwame Norville, everyone. Shout out to Kwame there. Appreciate him dropping by to chat with us and discuss this news here. And we're gonna start to wind down, wrap things up here. So please, Scott, Kwame didn't get to see, but Kwame can still see. Don't worry, he's still here, even though he's okay there. He just dropped out. Hopefully he sees it though. Scott says, "I miss you, Kwame." So I'll pass that along to Kwame in case he didn't see that there. But no, that's too funny. So thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone for being here and for supporting. It's been awesome being with y'all. Please, any other last thoughts? Leave your thoughts, comments, questions in the chat here. If you're watching this after the fact, please leave your comments below, and I read every single comment. Even if I don't always respond to everyone, I definitely read everyone. So please leave your comments and leave any thoughts in the comments below. And if you haven't done so already, I don't know why you wouldn't have done so already, but please immediately hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to receive notifications anytime we go live or launch a new video. If you don't want to see notifications, but you still want to subscribe, that's fine. That's cool. You can hit the bell and hit none to not get notified or anything like that if notifications bother you. That's totally cool. But we do appreciate it if you do get the notifications. Check out the videos, watch. It just helps the YouTube algorithm. It pleases the YouTube gods, and it helps our channel to grow. We are less than 100 hours away from being able to apply for monetization on YouTube. That will enable us to use the super chat feature. So the biggest way to support the show right now is to just watch the show, watch our some of our old clips. We got a ton of clips on the show of just like highlights of different episodes. You can watch our live streams. You can watch some of our breaking news episodes, and as well as all the highlights clips that we do as well. So check those out. Check out the coverage that we did on the People's Convention. Check out the Labor Day special that we recently did. We'll be back again likely tomorrow for another episode of the show. Radical Democracy episode 16 should be airing tomorrow. The time is still not decided. We're still trying to experiment with time. So we've been doing some later times. We don't want to have our international community miss out all the time. And so we're going to try to mix in some earlier episodes as well. So Monday's episode might be an early episode, just still experimenting, as I said, to see what engagement is like at different times of day. So please, sign up, become a Patreon supporter on patreon.com/radical democracy. If you sign up for $5 or more a month, we'll send you an invite link to our Discord server. Give us a little bit of time. We send them out, as soon as we can. It just takes a little time. We're doing everything, editing videos. We're not a massive news organization right now. We don't have employees here. We don't have a big staff here or anything like that. It's myself and my producer Tammy, usually just my partner and my producer there, and we get some help from family like Jamiko, the producer, as well. And all of our Patreon community, of course, is the backbone of our radical democracy. So Raise Fist Media, aka Kwame, sees you there, Scott, and sends some love there. So just so you know, see, we got nothing but love here, solidarity in our chat here. So love to see it. All right, I'm gonna start to wind down. I think I've talked enough, honestly, but if anyone has any last thoughts, please share them in the comments. Love to hear them, love to hear from you. Otherwise, you will see me tomorrow, and I look forward to chatting with you. I have a ton of stories to get to tomorrow, and so I'm really looking forward to the show tomorrow. We've had a ton of stories that we've just been getting through a backlog of stories, and so there's just a ton to discuss, and I'm really looking forward to that. Some of those things that we'll be chatting about are the generational gap among Black voters. So there's a big generational gap among Black voters. 538 did a study on this, and so, released an article on some results of some other studies that were done on this. And so we'll take a look at the generational gap among Black voters heading into Election Day. We'll talk about the upcoming election in Bolivia and why that's an important election that we should be paying attention to here in the United States. What it means. We'll also talk a bit about the Bolivian coup against Evo Morales that happened a few years back, and that was all supported by Elon Musk. I think that was about a year ago, not a few years back. So I think it was last year, and that was a U.S. backed coup in Bolivia. A Donald Trump backed coup that was also supported by Elon Musk because it helped to. This was around getting Bolivia has the world's largest lithium reserves, and they need lithiums in the batteries for these electric, batteries for your phones, but also for electric vehicles require lithium. And so, just we have to be aware of these things. We'll also talk about the promise from the Minneapolis City Council to disband police and defund police that ultimately collapsed. The change in support for the Black Lives Matter movement since from June until now. We'll take a look, if we have some time, we'll take a look at the recent debate between Richard Wolff and Peter Schiff, some of the highlights from that, and much more, much more. So, maybe if we have some time, Marianne Williamson just was recently laughing in Andrew Yang's face, and it was just hilarious. She went on his podcast, and it was a great little. There was just some great interactions between Marianne Williamson and Andrew Yang, where she essentially just laughed in his face and called him out to his face, and it was wild and interesting. And I look forward to getting some of the Yang gang in the comments when we do that story, because no matter what you do, when you cover Andrew Yang, you can rest assured that Yang gang will be in your comments. So looking forward to it, really looking forward to that. FL says, that's awesome, Connie. Yes, it is. Thank you so much, Connie. Thank you, Connie, so much for signing up, and for our $10 tier on Patreon. It's and I can't thank you enough. It warms my heart. It literally I'm just so appreciative of that. So thank you so much. And the whole community the whole community appreciates it whenever we get a new member in the community. It's great. I love it. It's not just me that's thanking folks. It's everybody. The whole community comes out and supports it. So thank you so much to Connie for becoming our newest Patreon patron. Thank you so much. FL says, me too. That's so awesome. That I think that's referring to Connie's comment about this being the first YouTube show that they support financially. That's amazing. That's I don't know. It's surreal to me. It's like I don't feel special. I don't feel special enough to deserve that, but it's amazing, and I thank you so much. And I know it's not just me. It's the work that it's a team effort. It's a community effort here, and so thank you so much for supporting us in that way. And shout out to FL, who's been a big supporter of ours as well, on Coffee. To anyone that wants to help out, leave a one-time tip on Coffee. You can leave us a tip, one-time tip. Coffee.com/radical democracy. We really appreciate that. There's links in the description box below. You can always just like open up the description box, click a link in the description box, coffee.com/radical democracy. You can see it right there. But hit that link in the description box, head over there and drop us a one-time tip if you can afford it, only if you can afford it, only if and when you can afford it. Never expect it otherwise. We don't want people don't spend your last dollar here. You gotta, I totally understand being strapped for cash and dealing with difficult financial times. I'm unemployed. I trust me. I'm there. So don't feel bad at all. I don't want anyone to feel any sort of shame or guilt or anything like that. If you can't support in that way, I know, support us just by hitting the like button, subscribing, and coming back and watching the content. And that will be plenty of support as well. So appreciate that as well. And just one more time, I got to give the shout out to Connie for becoming our most recent Patreon patron. So thank you, Connie, so much for that. Really appreciate that. Just taking a look at our Patreon here and our coffee as well, just to see if I have to give any other shout outs here. I think we're good for now. Okay, cool. Good for now. And we are so close, folks. We are so close to reaching the threshold for monetization on YouTube. And you really helped out by joining us and watching this stream today. So thank you so much for doing that, for being here with us. We really appreciate that. You're getting us. We're probably 50 hours or less away from reaching the threshold for monetization on YouTube. We're going to be able to apply for monetization very soon, which is going to enable the super chat feature. If we get approved, there's no guarantee that we get approved. In fact, for some reasons, we're not sure. So we have to wait for the approval process to go through, but we will be able to apply very soon. Probably this, almost certainly this week, we're going to be able to apply for monetization on YouTube, which is just going to give us the ability to start to use the super chat feature. We're going to pose we'll put a poll in the Discord or on Patreon. We'll do some polling, possibly on the YouTube channel itself. We'll do a poll to ask people if they want us to try to enable advertising on the channel. Honestly, I'm resilient to it. I'm resistant to it because I just hate ads and I hate the idea of ads. And I would rather, I don't want to annoy people with ads. It creates a small amount of revenue, but I don't think it'll be a ton of revenue anyways. And I don't want to annoy, frustrate people or just bother people with advertising. If we can avoid it, I'd much rather. I know Democracy at Work with Richard Wolff, they deliberately go out of their way to they don't enable ads on their videos intentionally. And they just say, just support us on Patreon or some other way. If you want to support us that way. We're not, we won't, burden you with advertising. You got to deal with advertising everywhere you go already. I'd like to be able to allow you to avoid it when you're in this space. And so, but I want to be democratic. So I'll pose the question democratically to the community and I'll let the community decide, and we can change it. We'll continue to poll. We'll poll every year, however often we need to. And if the sentiment changes and folks don't want ads in the future, we'll take them off and we just won't do it. We can get our support, the grassroots way, one Patreon supporter at a time, and we'll do it that way. We don't want to annoy folks too much. So X says, you've been smashing it, tons of content, happy to see you sticking with it. Hopefully it's been satisfying for you. It absolutely has. This is I just feel like this is what I want to do. This is how I want to spend my time. I'm a software engineer. I'm a trained software engineer. I can certainly program. I'm a really badass, JavaScript developer. I built my own website. I built not my own. I built it with a handful of people, but I co-founded a company. I started a website. It still exists to this day. I keep it up and running as a labor of love. It's an online note-taking and study platform. You click a button and instantly generate decks of hundreds or thousands of flashcards. It's called Nimble Notes. You can check it out, nimblenotes.com. You can check it out if you ever just want to see what else I've done. So I'm a software engineer. I've worked at jobs like that, like 6-figure jobs, and I've also faced like discrimination in the industry, and been fired from jobs for what I consider to be discriminatory reasons, oftentimes for just speaking out against what I consider injustices in the workplace. I've lost my job for that, and so I don't want to be back in that industry. I hate the industry. It's like a soul-sucking industry where you have to work to destroy people's jobs every day. Like the work you do building software, it's oftentimes just like, it's all about your software is more successful when you can take people's jobs away with it. And so I don't like the idea of doing that, and for just for profit and for personal gain. And so it makes me feel gross, and I would really like to not have to do it. Now, it is, I got student loan debt, and that I have to deal with, like almost $100,000 of student loan debt to deal with. And, just to eventually get a place of my own and that sort of stuff, so that I can be autonomous in that sense. And I may have to take work doing software engineering for a while again. But if I could earn enough money, if we can build the Patreon up to earn enough money, then this is what I would like to do full time with my life. This is what I would like my job to be. This is how I would like to spend my time. And so I would love for this to be what I could do, full time all the time. And so it is very satisfying. This has been like, it's almost therapeutic for me to have a space to go to where I can be amongst, like-minded folks and talk about these ideas and voice our frustrations and vent our frustrations in a solid, friendly space here. And so I love it. And it's been very satisfying for me. And thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that, X. To anyone who hasn't done so already, please do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe, share. I have to ask, please support the show in that way. Just hit the like button. It's right down below there. If you haven't already, just do so. Do it right now. If you haven't already, super simple, takes 2 seconds of your time. Hit that like button, subscribe. What do you got to lose? As Donald Trump says, what do you got to lose? So, we've been discussing the breaking news about Donald Trump's tax returns being released by the New York Times. And so we're just, here, winding down. If anyone has any thoughts, please leave your thoughts, questions, comments in the chat there or over there. Please leave your thoughts in the comments there. And, I'll try to get to everything before we go. But we've just been discussing the Donald Trump's tax returns being released and what the implications of that are moving forward. And, I think I've said my piece here. So I don't have much to add to what I've said already. But if you're just joining us and just watching this live, essentially my take is that it's unsurprising. It's what I expected to see in Donald Trump's returns, that he's not that great of a businessman, that he doesn't make as much money as he claims, and that he doesn't pay a whole lot of taxes. And that's pretty much what was found. It showed that he was taking more money from foreign governments and U.S. Interest groups than he had previously made public, but no connections, no previously unreported connections to Russia. So there's a large contingency of the Democratic sort of establishment, corporate Democratic base that would like to use this to sort of be like, some sort of election bombshell. But I just don't really see that happening, unfortunately, because I just don't think that this is going to move the needle for anybody. If Donald Trump is such a polarizing figure already. You either you love Donald Trump, you hate Donald Trump, or you just don't care about politics whatsoever. And if you don't care about politics whatsoever, this story right here isn't going to be the thing. Like, you had a president, a presidential candidate caught on tape saying, I just grab women by the pee, I just grab them by the pussy. And it's like, if that doesn't do it for people, this isn't going to do it either. So I don't think that Donald Trump's tax returns, unfortunately, is going to have any serious significant impact on the election. I think that it will impact the debates. I think that it will alter the course of the debates. But let's be real. That's what this was about. The timing of this is pretty clearly a opposition, research dump. This is the Democrats had a chance, this is them releasing this days before the debates. So 2 days before the presidential debates, the first presidential debates, you have Donald Trump's tax returns released. I mean, this is pretty clearly an opposition research dump. It's fine. I mean, that's what essentially the WikiLeaks dump was. And that's fine. People should have all the information. Voters should have all the information when they go to the polls. I'm totally cool with that. I think I support that. I just wish that we got this information back in 2016. I don't know why it took 4 years when you got all these people at the IRS and it's sitting, the president. It's not under audit. You can't be under audit for that long. The years, the previous 10 years couldn't have been under audit. The newer tax returns couldn't have been under audit, at least actually. So the newer stuff, all of his new years couldn't have been under audit. So they, he could have released these returns earlier, but, they just, I think that for Donald Trump, I think his concern is just people finding out that he's not as rich as he lets on, that he's not as successful a businessman as he lets on. I think that he just doesn't want people to have that proof. I think most people generally had an inkling of this, that Donald Trump wasn't quite the successful businessman that he claimed to be. I mean, who has 6 bankruptcies? He had 6 bankrupt businesses. So he clearly wasn't a successful businessman. Yeah, unsurprising news here for me. Jesus Rodriguez says, should they occupy Wall Street again, or should people leave it alone because everyone's unemployment is tied to it? So yeah, Occupy Wall Street again. I mean, I didn't know that the Occupy Wall Street movement would be what it is and would have had the impact that it had. I don't think that this is something that's going to drum up enough anger and outrage in order to spark a movement like the Occupy Wall Street movement again. That was masses of people being, cheated out of their homes by big banks and just like inhumanely, kicked out of their homes, and people were, you had a massive economic crash that happened. And I think that it was, we weren't in the middle of a pandemic at the time. So I think that the idea of having an Occupy Wall Street movement right now is really tough mid-pandemic. Like, who's about to go gather in groups and go occupy Wall Street again the way that they were? It's not a safe thing to do. If we're being real, I don't think that it's actually safe to do it. And so it's really hard to have a movement like that to start up, I think, at this stage. But so I'm not expecting anything like an Occupy Wall Street movement to arise out of something like this. I think that it's just not shocking enough news. It's not surprising enough news for anyone, and it's not painful enough. This doesn't actually alter. It doesn't really affect people's day-to-day lives, right? Like, it's not like your wages are going to be any higher or less because of this. It's not like your job is any more or less secure because of this, really, right? So it just doesn't have a real impact for everyday people. And so I just don't think that it's going to, have that significant of an impact politically in any fashion, unfortunately. So X says, I'm riding the Trump hate train for life. Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm certainly on that train. Like, the dude's a racist, misogynist, xenophobe, and a terrible president, a failed businessman. He failed the country. He helped accelerate us and exacerbate the economic crisis that we're under and the health, the pandemic crisis that we're under. So, there will never be there will be plenty of hate in my heart there. But of course, I do see Trump, of course, as more of a symptom than a cause of all of these ills. And so, I don't think that Trump, and not that I'm saying that X, thinks that in any way or anything like that. So I'm right with you. I'll be riding that train. I got a ticket in the seat right next to you, X, on that train. But yeah, I just unfortunately, I just wish the Democrats actually hated Trump the way that the rest of us really do. If they did, they'd properly resist him and wouldn't just like hand over massive military budgets, give him more than he asked for in his military budgets. Like, this is the fake resistance from the Democrats. So I just don't expect anything. I mean, Donald Trump just nominated a Supreme Court justice before RBG was even done being buried. Like, they couldn't even wait till she was buried. These people are like, they don't, like, they're monsters, and like they just don't. And the Democrats are just weak as shit, like weak as ever. So X says, I'm going to celebrate his passing with an all-night party. Please invite me to that party. I want some of that homegrown food there as well. X, I will be there at that party. Brian Dew says the tax code allowed all this stuff and was written by both parties. Yes, absolutely. The tax code allowed all this stuff and was written by both of these parties. And our tax code is just like, go look at what the tax code book looks like. It's literally like this thick. It's like this freaking thick, the tax code book. No sane American can ever read through that thing and understand how the tax code works. Why is our tax code so complicated? It doesn't need to be, but the wealthiest people make it so complicated so that they can work through all these little, tax loopholes and such. So Brian Dew continues on. He says, also, Kwame made a great point that this story will push more important issues off the news cycle and out of the debate. That was a great point by Kwame, actually, a very crucial point by Kwame. I wish we had harped on it a little bit longer, but he's absolutely right that this story, it just like the RBG news. Now, the RBG one is more important. Like, that's more substantive of an issue that is going to substantively impact, working class, everyday people's lives. Who is the next Supreme Court justice? That actually has an impact. I think that will have much more of an impact on the election than Donald Trump's tax returns being released. That's just, there's not enough there, unfortunately. And unfortunately, I think that the Democratic Party would have much preferred that there was some sort of Russia angle to this so that they could have, rehashed Russiagate all over again, because they don't have any political football to kick around at this point. And I think, honestly, the Democrats feel, by and large, I think they feel safe they feel comfortable with the lead that Biden has in the polls right now. And I think that they're feeling very comfortable with that. And if I were the Democrats, I wouldn't get too comfortable, but I think that they don't have as much to lose as the rest of us. So I don't think that they're overly concerned about it. So, but it was an absolutely great point made by Kwame that news like this just pushes other news out of the, pushes other, important issues out of the news cycle. And that means, because of the news cycle that's going to be coming up, it's going to be these debates coming up. And so that means less time to discuss real issues that matter to people: healthcare, climate catastrophe, wages, employment, the economy, right? How do we get over this pandemic? How are we going to move past it? What are the actual policies that Joe Biden is going to support if he's elected, to help improve everyday working class people's lives? Is he going to support something like a $2,000 a month universal basic income or anything like that? What does he support? And this is going to allow him cover to spend less time on that. It gives the news networks more time. They're going to spend more time on this story, and then otherwise they could have been talking about some of these issues. But let's be real, they'll grab at anything to avoid talking about real issues. Here you watch this show, not a story goes by where we don't, try to connect it to working class people and working class people's issues and the reality on the ground for the majority of us, for the masses of people. We try to connect every single story to that. But in this, on CNN, on MSNBC, on Fox News, it's just, that's not what they're interested in. They're interested in sensationalization, sensationalizing stories and distracting us from the real, policy issues and the issues that matter to people that would actually change our lives. They don't want us to, get together and realize that we're all getting screwed over. All of us working class people, Republican, Democrat, black, white, male, female, non-binary, cis, trans, gay, straight, atheist, religious. Like, they want us to continue to fight amongst each other so that we don't band together in solidarity and fight the people that are actually, ripping us off every day. The capitalists who are in power, ripping us off every single day that we work for them. So, Yeah, thanks for the comment, Brian. Brian says also agreed with Connie, FL, X, and others. Thanks for the breaking news coverage. Thank you so much, y'all. I really appreciate that. Like, I'm trying to do more of this, and the more that, you know, the more support we have, it's honestly, I'll be real with y'all. If I feel like people are going to listen, then it's much easier to go out there and do these sort of breaking news, you know, the breaking news streams and breaking news coverage. So I love that the community is there, and it just feels so amazing. And I was reflecting on this with Tammy the other day. Tammy, shout out to Tammy in the comments there. Tammy popped in here and said, hi, hun. Hi, hun. What's up, Tammy? So thank you so much for being here, Tam. And yeah, we were reflecting. I was reflecting on this the other day, but just that it's so amazing. It's such an amazing feeling to know that, like, you know, every time we do a live stream, folks show up, the community shows up, and we have these engaging discussions, and it's such a rewarding experience. So just thank you so much to everyone who participates in these streams, and it's amazing. It really is. I don't have the words. I'm gonna find the words someday to show my appreciation and my gratitude, but I never have the words. So thank you so much to all of you for that support. So X says, I think Trump is the embodiment of late stage American capitalist society. Yeah, I think that absolutely. I mean, we are living through late stage capitalism, as they say. It's just capitalism, really. It's been unstable and unequal throughout its entire existence. Capitalism has been unequal and unstable. And what we're seeing now is just that mixed with the fall of the American empire, with U.S. empire. And so I think that it absolutely is. It's like this fraudulent, it's just masquerading as like decadence. It's like masquerading decadence, and you masquerade as if everything's all good. There's nothing to see here, y'all. I'm all good. I'm rich. We got money. We're rich. Everything's cool. It's all by the book. Don't look, guys. Don't pay attention. And really right under the surface, it's all the cracks are there. It's all, it's rotten to its core under the surface. And yeah, that's Trump. That's late stage American capitalism right there. It's just trying to distract it. That's why every time we have a crash of capitalism, they don't call it a capitalist crash. They don't call it, they don't blame it on capitalism. They always have a name. It's the housing crash, right? It's the .com bubble, right? It was the .com bubble. It was the housing crash. It was the COVID-19 pandemic, right? It was the COVID-19, crisis. And so, these recessions, it's like the housing recession of 2000, like they have names for them, but they never call it what it is, which is just failures of capitalism, right? It's the faltering and a failure of capitalism that we're actually living through. And so that's what we have here. It's much of the same. So X says he's capitalism incarnate. Absolutely. Agree 100%. And X also says, absolutely, you're invited. Bring Tammy and whoever you guys want. Got space at my place. Let me know. No, we will, be careful what you wish for. X is out there in Hawaii, and we will definitely chat about that, because we would love to visit sometime. And so, yeah, we will do so. We just don't want to be like terrible tourists. We can't do it. We have to wait till after the pandemic, obviously, because we don't want to be the types of tourists that go and bring people illness, bring the indigenous people, the native people there illness. So we're not going to be any of those evil, awful American, mainland tourists. So we won't do that. But once things are safe, and it's safe, for the natives, then we absolutely will, come out there, and we'll make that happen. So look forward to that. We'll definitely look forward to that. All right. So, all right. Well, shout out again to super producer Tammy, who is there in the background, as always, doing her thing. So shout out to super producer Tammy. Thank you for everything you do, and for just being the amazing human being that you are. I love you, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much to Tammy, our super producer. Thank you for what you do. The whole community loves and appreciates you, I'm sure. So thank you, and thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone for being here, for hanging with us today. I'm gonna wrap things up here. So if you have any last thoughts, please share them in the comments. But I'm gonna wind things. I'm gonna wrap things here pretty much. So thank you to everyone. X says back to planting. Take care, you guys. That sounds so wonderful. And yes, I'm gonna plant some food with you when I get out there too. Such a good feeling. It's such a great feeling. Sustainability, it's awesome. So shout out to X. Enjoy that, please. That is very rewarding work to do. So enjoy that and look forward to seeing you again soon. Shout out to everyone. Thank you all for being here. I'm gonna wrap things up here. So yeah, really appreciate that. Thank you all. Let me end with this. We'll end on this note here. Give me one sec. All right, don't worry. It's coming. It's coming, y'all. Ready? I think I'll go out on this note. But no, you know what? I need Tammy, do you got the Tammy, if you have the end screen, you want to throw that up if you have the end screen. Otherwise, I'll do the I'll do our normal intro, our Cornell West intro as an outro if you don't have it up with you. But if you have it up, Tammy will throw our end screen up there if she has it up and available. Tammy and I are remote right now, so I'm not able to just shout to her like I usually can right now. So Tammy, I'll wait a few seconds here to see if she has it. If she doesn't, it's fine. It's totally cool. I can give us a Cornell West outro if we need. I should have this ready. I will in the future someday. So, all right. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us today. Really appreciate it. Thanks to all the kind words from all of our everyone in our community. And you'll see me tomorrow. I'll be back with y'all tomorrow for the next episode of Radical Democracy. Check that out. Please come and support. Likely going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern, but I may try to do an earlier stream tomorrow just to try to get with some of our European and international crew as well. I think we got some folks in Australia and all over. So we'll see if we can do a slightly different time. Australia is like exactly on the opposite in like 13 hours. I don't know. So anywho. All right. Thank you all for being here with us. I'm going to end on our intro. I'm going to use our intro for an outro here. So enjoy some words from Cornell West on the way out the door, y'all.
Can we listen to all of our voices, great frogs and others, the best of who we are as a species, as a nation, as an imperial experiment, as an imperial democracy? And yet, as my dear sister Marianne said, recognize that there's the best in America that has always understood that if our lives matter, if Black lives matter, we're going to have to make sure that democratic practices and orientations and means of being in the world are reproduced and expanded. If any lives matter, you're going to have major radical democracy. But can you have radical democracy in America without empire, without white supremacy, without male supremacy, without transphobia, without homophobia, without losing sight of the humanity of Muslims and Jews and Arabs? It's an unanswered question. We just don't know.